It's Emil. It's Emil Guillermo. Emil Amok to you. It's good to be here with you on the takeout. We're here Monday through Friday, 2 p.m. Pacific. And if you're paying attention to your sundial or your watch or whatever your timepiece is, then you know I'm a little early. I'm not one of those stereotypical late Filipinos. I'm a little early. So this is your lanyap. Thank goodness. Up here in my gong closet. Today we're going to talk about going into space. Would you go into space? I mean, I was touched by Shatner today. I mean, if you haven't heard him, I'll play back some of the things. But I was touched by him, so we'll talk about Shatner. Also talking about, let's see, got to talk about the Giants. They were disappointing last night. They're going to come back on they've got to come back on Thursday. I'm going to talk a little about immigration because I don't know if I really paid homage to the Hart-Celler Act, the 1965 immigration bill or immigration act that allowed us all in. It's the reason why we're all here, which is the reason why we shouldn't bother with space. We got to take care of stuff here. But as Shatner figured out today, we just need to see space for that moment, that one moment. So we'll get into that. So here's our lanyap, the little something extra, where I just talk about things that you may not be aware of. This is in the breaking news department. Seriously, this is breaking news. There was a bow and arrow guy. Yeah, a bow and arrow guy in New York. Or not in New York, in Norway, 50 miles outside of Oslo, and he ran amok. And when I saw that, I said, God, they're going to make a big deal about this bow and arrow guy. The gun nuts are going to say, hey, see, it happens with a bow and arrow. But I just lost that page here. But it was a breaking news story. The bow and arrow guy in Norway, 50 miles outside of Oslo. And it's breaking enough so that the New York Times figures that, oh, well, we'll screw up Emil's email feed and just, make him want to click on it. And then as he clicks on it, when he wants to talk about it, we'll just play with him and make it disappear. Because I only saw it. On my, oh, here's another breaking news. The Biden administration announced a plan to develop large-scale wind farms along nearly the entire coastline of the United States. He's going wind. Martha's Vineyard. Now, that's actually not a bad idea. A lot of people think it's not as efficient. I live out by a place where there's a lot of wind farms. I don't know if it's really made a difference. Maybe a little bit. But we got to move toward alternative energy. Here's the breaking news story. Several people were killed and others injured in a Norwegian town by a man using a bow and arrows, the police said. The suspect is in custody. It's in a town called Kongsberg. Not the Asian Kongs, but the Norwegian Kongs. Town of 26,000, 50 miles outside of Norway. And according to the story, let's see, how many people exactly do they want to admit to? Because, this is the land of the Nobel Peace Prize. The incident has left us all shaken, said Prime Minister Erna Solberg. The news is terrifying. I understand that people are getting scared. And a man with a bow and arrow. killing and wounding several people. No, there's no number given here, but just something to show you that people who are prone to that kind of thing will do that unless they get help. And we got to identify those things so we can get help. Otherwise, it doesn't matter if these sticks, bows and arrows. I mean, you don't have to go gun, AR-15, handgun. It could be anything. People will go off the deep end when they are off the deep end. Here's a thing that I noticed because I tend to watch these police procedurals from Scandinavian countries. My wife likes that. So I end up just sort of coming along for the ride. But police ordinarily are not armed. But they were given authorization to carry weapons due to the serious incident in Kongsberg. So this is, for such a peaceful country, right? This is a moment in Norway. So, God, I wish I had my Edvard Grieg ready to play here. So that's one lanyap, a little something extra. We add the thing about the wind farms, but I also want to talk about my column in the ALDEF blog, aaldef.org/blog, the Asian American Legal Defense and Education Fund blog. I talked about Vincent Chin, the episode of This Is Life with Lisa Ling. I guess this is the way they do it now. They run it once and then incessantly on repeats on all their different networks whenever they feel like, and you just got to catch it when catch can. But I found out just by doing some search, you can buy the episode. You can actually buy the Legacy of Vincent Chin on HD on Amazon for like $2.99. I mean, if Lisa Ling came up to your door and said, "Hey, you want to hear my thing about Vincent Chin?" You say, "Okay, yeah, I'll buy a coffee somewhere." That would cost you a lot more than $2.99. But here, I mean, she's not she's not an advertiser or anything. I'm just mentioning it because, as I said in my ALDEF column, I thought if you don't know the story of Vincent Chin, it's about as good a representation of the story presented from an Asian American point of view and as told by Lisa Ling through Helen Zia, who's the executor of the Vincent Chin estate. And I've talked to Helen I've known her for years. And there were things I didn't know about her. Like, for example, I didn't know that she worked in Detroit and, in the auto industry. That kind of shocked me. That how can I not know this about a friend? And on the ALDEF column, I include a link to a podcast I did with her in 2017 with Helen Zia. And she revealed some of the things that she talked to me about then, like the fact that blacks were really reluctant, or not blacks, but the ACLU and the National Lawyers Guild were reluctant to fight for Vincent Chin's civil rights because he wasn't black. And it was blacks who came to support Vincent Chin and the American Citizens for Justice, the group that Helen Zia formed to fight for the civil rights of Vincent Chin. And there was a clip of Jesse Jackson. So, I mean, those are things that I think, for me, what makes this a little special is that it puts into context what it was like to be Asian American, not in America, but in Detroit, and what it was like to be American or just to live in Detroit at that time when the Japanese auto industry was essentially in a trade war with America, and the American auto manufacturers were taking it on the chin. Oh, no pun intended there. But I think heretofore, I've always just kind of acknowledged, yeah, there was some economic issues with Japan. But living out in California, I never really got a sense of how serious it was. That is why this documentary, this 1 hour, might be worth getting. If you don't know when to find it, and I don't know when to find it, I taped it on my TV, but I just don't know when it's going to come up again. The Legacy of Vincent Chin, This Is Life with Lisa Ling. I will also say this, and full disclosure, they talked to me about the Chin story. They didn't use me, but I mean, my face. But then it's obvious, right? It's obvious why they didn't use my face. No, it's not that obvious. Be kind to yourself, Emil. Don't be. There's no. Okay, yeah. I don't know why they didn't use. I would have gone on, but here's the thing. They didn't ask me about anything else. They just asked me about Vincent Chin. They didn't ask me about how to write or design this. That's their bit. I'm just responding now as a consumer. And read my column, and you'll see my one big but when it comes to that Legacy of Vincent Chin. Because I left out the Filipino parts, the Filipino history part. And that's no good. I mean, well, you'll get the Filipino history from reading my column on the Aldef blog. And also listening to show 156 yesterday, I go into detail. But it always is the omission that people go from Chinese exclusion 1882 to internment in 1941, and they think we were all just living happily ever after in between. When no, Filipinos were brought in to be a labor force. They were excluded in the same kind of ways and discriminated in the same kind of ways as the Chinese. And you never hear that. There are other things too. The Filipinos were colonized by the U.S. We're special. We are. I mean, look, if you're a colonist or a colonized, colonist is someone like Hamilton. Colonized is someone like my dad. You're special. You're not a citizen. You're not an American. You're just used. A true second-class American. That's why it's important to not forget them. And especially important not to mention them or to mention them during October, Filipino American History Month. That's what this is. So that's my lanyap. I just told you how to buy Lisa Ling's imperfect documentary on Vincent Chin. Perfect on Vincent Chin, bad on the Filipino parts. But that's all right. It's worth $2.99. That's not even a latte. That's half a latte. Lisa Ling is worth half a latte. I would say. Anyway, welcome to Emil Amok's Takeout Live, number 157, WDAAAT. What does an Asian American think? You know, they never ask. But here, you can get that. You can get what an Asian American thinks right here. We fill the void. I'm Emil Guillermo. Emil Amok to you. Emil at amok.com if you want to email me. If you want to email me, maybe. All right, today, Amok Time with Shatner. Did you see? I mean, I woke up today and I said, when I heard that William Shatner was going up into space, I said, wow, I guess he blew the Priceline gig. I mean, William Shatner is 90. All right, I get it. I get why he still wants to be out there because he's an out there guy. I think in his 80s, I saw him do his one man show. I've seen him throughout television. But one thing, I am not a Star Trek guy. I'm wearing some red, but I'm not a Star Trek guy. I was never a Trekkie. I saw Amok Time years later when it was available as individual episodes on the various sites. Amok Time. Now, if you're a Trekkie, you know Amok Time. This is like, Vulcan Holiday. You feel the urge and you want to go crazy in a good way, in a rated X/PG way, because it's Amok Time. This is a Vulcan thing. And the episode is about uh, Spock and Shatner, right? Captain Kirk getting into it because it's that time of not year, but that type of moment. It's a once in 7 years they get this Amok Time. So I sort of warmed up to Star Trek after that. But now this is like just a few years ago. I saw Amok Time with Shatner. So I wanted to see what his reaction would be like when he got back from space. I mean, I was watching other things while they were actually flying around and showing some live pictures. But I saw them coming down, and Jeff Bezos goes to the capsule and lets them out, and here they are. And if you missed it, I think it's worth playing because people who know me know I am not a big space guy. I'm not for going into space. I I want people to spend the tens of millions of dollars that go into space. I want people to spend that money here. And that's why when Bezos gave 100 million to Van Jones, I think it was 100 million, you know, he gave it to a good cause. That was his way of saying, hey, look, I want to quiet the critics and say, this is not some vanity thing. Send you off to space and come back. This is not some big space age bungee jump. This isn't going to replace the baby boomers wanting to like skydive or bungee jump or that kind of thing. Because look, let's face it. If you're a rich boomer, I'm not a rich boomer. I'm just a middle class boomer. But if you're a rich boomer and you got a bucket list and you got all the money in the world and you say, look, not another weekend with a private jet. I got to do something better, right? And you say, all right, so let's go 60 miles past the whatever, that line that says you're in outer space. It only costs $250,000. Mortgage the servants' quarters, right? I mean, I would much rather people just take that money and like pump it into our lives here. That was my thought before I saw Shatner come back and go into raptures about space. I mean, here's this guy who tried to downplay it all through the last couple of weeks, saying, look, I'm fiction. I'm not Captain Kirk. I'm just a Priceline pitch man. I'm just an actor. All the stuff I do is fiction, right? But thank God Shatner went up there because there was going to be some kind of advertisement type of effect, that William Shatner goes up there. But he comes down, and here's Shatner talking about his experience. Oop, I want to play this, but somehow my little this is thank goodness I'm not up in space because I would have had to pull the ripcord. But let's play this here. Here's Shatner.
Oh, it's one thing to see, the sky and the thing and the fragile. It's all true. But what isn't true, what is unknown is this pillow. There's this soft blue. Look at the.
All right, now there's a lot of people talking because no one's figured that they should put the mic on William Shatner. So it's like an Omni, not a cardioid mic, and it's capturing everything. People in the background screaming because there's like 4 people coming out and they're being greeted. And Shatner has Bezos and they're talking, and he's talking about the color blue. And he's talking about how beautiful that color blue was.
Beauty of that color. And it's so thin. And you're through it in an instant. It's what a. I'll think there's a week of.
So now he's got to go science on everyone. How what is that? How thin is it? What is the measure? And then he comes back to Earth, and he goes back about this color blue that he sees.
You're through the blue, and you're into black, and you're into, it's mysterious and galaxies and things, but what you see is black, and what you see down there is light, and that's the difference.
And so he just notices as he crosses the line into space, he gets this blanket, he calls it, this color blue that's so thin, and you go through it, and now you're into black. And you're in this other kind of space. You're in space. And you achieve this overview effect where you look back and you see the world and you see out, you see the darkness, and you are just awestruck. And suddenly, I started to get kind of turned on by space, listening to Shatner.
And not to have this, you have done something. I mean, whatever those other guys are doing with.
So he starts to praise Bezos because he wants the ad contract. He wants to make sure, hey, look, thank you, Bezos, whatever those guys are doing. And then he goes in and goes for the profound.
It's what isn't. I don't know about that. What you have given me is the most profound experience I can imagine. I'm so filled with emotion about what just happened. It's extraordinary. Extraordinary. I hope I never recover from this. I hope that.
It's extraordinary, right? And it's like a feeling that is so high. There aren't really too many things. Are there other things in life that you experience that you say, I'll never forget where I saw the premiere episode of season 8 of This Is Life with Lisa Ling on Vincent Chin. I'll never forget that. I'll never forget that moment. Now, are there any moments like that you have in life that you remember and it's clear as day? Your wedding day, the day you divorced your first wife. I mean, the day your kids were born. I mean, all of them, even the ones that weren't mine. I remember I remember the days, the moment of childbirth. I mean, that's sort of what this is, right? You go into space, you got this blanket over you, this blue blanket, as Shatner says. You see the sky, you see that blue, and then suddenly you cross the line and you're in this darkness. You're like popping through and you're becoming kind of astrally reborn in some way. It is, and you heard Shatner, it was like so emotional. It was profound, and it's like God, right? It's like a When Harry Met Sally moment, right? I want some of what she's having, right? It is this kind of cosmic, orgasmic experience. And how many moments like that do you have? Do you remember? I mean, like I said, I remember the day I was married, my kids. I remember that my first touchdown when I played high school football. Can't forget, it was also my last, but I remember that. I remember that play like it was yesterday. I remember when Pablo Sandoval hit all those home runs against the Detroit Tigers in the World Series. I was there. I don't know. I just think I I I want to go into space now, I think. I mean, just to hear William Shatner say it just made it so appealing.
Beautiful, yes, beautiful in its way, but no, I mean your words. Oh my words.
So Shatner is saying, Bezos says, oh, those words are so beautiful about, feeling like you don't want to lose this feeling. And Shatner thought he was referring to his glimpse of the atmospherics. And Bezos was really referring to the poetry of Shatner. But here's more of what Shatner said.
What I would love to do is to communicate as much as possible the jeopardy, the moment that you see how the vulnerability of everything is so small. This air, which is keeping us alive, is thinner than your skin. It's a sliver.
So he's, like I said, going into raptures about the vulnerability of it all and the air, and he goes into how you don't want to you don't really want to screw up the earth. You end up valuing it, right?
What is it, 20% or something? That level of sustain. I mean, that's another whole subject. What's your statement?
Let me go right. Oh, here it is. He's talking about
this is life, and that you're in death. The moment this is life, and that's death. And it's in an instant, you go, wow, that's death. That's what I saw. That's amazing.
So he's saying you cross that line of the blue into the darkness, and you go back and you turn your head and you see there's life there on earth, and what is that? What is the darkness? Is that death? It's just kind of profound, right? You want those kind of profound moments. Oh, I've got the time I went to Zion National Park and walked through the Narrows. And they prepare you for this. You got to put on special clothes and boots, and you got your walking stick, and you got to walk. You got to walk to the Narrows and hike in, and then you're there, and it's incredible. You're walking on water, and you're seeing the earth just jut up off the ground. It wasn't outer space, but it was space here on earth, and it was just a moment of being with nature. I guess that's it. You're with nature. Whether on earth or in space, although that's not Mother Earth up there, it's kind of like the galactic cosmos. And you feel vulnerable and small and humbled, and it's just an amazing thing. So I guess that means I'd want to go to space, right? Well, yeah. I mean, if I could afford $250,000, I mean, $250,000. I mean, that's like 4 years in college now. You tell your kids, look, I would save for college for you, but I'd rather go to space and have my overview moment. You'll have to rely on community college and scholarships. I'm sorry. No. Space is important, but I think it makes you appreciate all the things that you have here on Earth, ultimately. And even Shatner said, oh, maybe you, Mr. Bezos, can take something, give everyone a virtual glimpse of it so that we can pay better attention to what we take for granted here on Earth, essentially. But I think, and I said this the first time Bezos went up in space, he and his brother, and him and his brother, and the other folks, I said, what's space? What's being an astronaut? I mean, really, compared to the experience of my father in 1928 taking a boat from the Philippines for $30 in a steamship that went from Manila to San Francisco in 30 days in steerage. I mean, that was a trip. That was like going into another world. And it was. I mean, from 1928 in the Philippines, now you're in 1928 in America, and people are talking about Babe Ruth and the Yankees, and there's also a depression, by the way. And people look at you like, where the hell did you come from? Might as well be a Martian. I'm just saying, there are enough worlds and galaxies and universes to explore right here on Earth. A lot of lines that we cross. And our forebears have been doing it from day one. So, show me an astronaut. Show me a civilian astronaut. I'll show you the 30,000 Filipinos who were colonized and brought to America in the 20s and 30s. I'll show you the tens of thousands of Filipinos and other Asians who were allowed into America after the Hart-Celler Act was passed in 1965. The Immigration Act that allowed everyone in. I mean, dream of space all you want. When you're in Asia at that time in the 60s, after you got your visa and gained entry, you were only thinking about a good life here in America. And each successive generation we build and layer, and here we are, 2021. Thinking about space? Well, 250 grand going up with Bezos. Probably more, or maybe less, with Virgin Galactic, if you had a coupon. Maybe you get a 2-for-1 at a Giants game. But really, think of your family. Think of what they did to get you here. What the astronauts did. Not so courageous by comparison. So a little about immigration. October 3rd, that's when the Hart-Celler Act was was passed October 3rd, 1965, the Immigration and Nationality Act. And as I like to always point out, that vote in the House was 320 to 70. 320 to in the Senate it was 76 to 18. 74% of Democrats and 85% of Republicans voted for that bill. That was when America worked. That's when America really cared. Look at where we are now. And just think, if we didn't have that 65 Act, if it wasn't passed and we continue to have those racist immigration laws, what would the makeup of our country be now? I mean, whites 75%, blacks 4%, Hispanics 8%, Asians less than 1%. Actually, that sounds more like 1990s Westchester County. I mean, there's a lot of American suburbs that are like that 80-10, 80-20 kind of thing. A lot different now. A lot different now. Space travel on Earth. Still worth something. All right, we talked about Shatner and immigration and Norway and Lisa Ling and, oh, now the Giants. The Giants, they did not look good last night. The Dodgers are so much better on paper. The Dodgers are so much better a team if you say, oh, look, here's one star. Where's your star? Oh, here's another star. You got any other stars? Here's another star. When you start matching up the teams, you say, wow, how did the Giants become the winningest team in baseball? Well, the fact is you need heart, you need good management skills, you need luck. A lot of it is luck. And you got to be good, right? And so they were good. But the Dodgers, if they're firing on all cylinders, and if people are as good as their resumes, they've got greatness upon greatness on the Dodgers. How could a Giants team possibly beat them? Well, we'll see on Thursday. A lot of it takes heart as well as skill and a lot of luck. There was luck the other day when the winds were flying everywhere. But I have a good feeling about this Giants team. And I've meditated, so I'm ready if in fact they do not advance to the National League Championship Series. But I have the Giants winning on Thursday, beating the Braves for the National League pennant, and then going off to play my brother-in-law's team, the Houston Astros. Only because Altuve for the Astros, yeah, I like those short players. Short players who hit home runs, they're okay in my book. Until they play the Giants. Anyway, cross my fingers for Thursday. And that's going to do it for our show today. Hey, tomorrow, I think we'll have Professor Dan Gonzalez back. We'll have him back. And I also want to talk about AA jaywalking. A lot of laws got passed over the last few weeks. The jaywalking bill, well, we'll talk about that tomorrow. Anyway, space. God, Shatner got me to use Priceline, and now he may get me to get up in space. I don't know. I look. We get a lot of things to take care of here. I still believe that to be true. I still believe that to be true. All right, let me say my bye-byes. Hey, Twitter, at Emil Amok. That's where you can sometimes find this show. I kind of put it on there, and you can, like, if you know how to use a Twitter playback thing, you can play back the show, the whole show. Yeah. Email me at Emil at amok.com. amok.com is where you'll find a lot of the playback, or a lot of the replays. We're here 2 p.m. Pacific Live, Monday through Friday. Show 157. That's this one. This is show 157. Show 157. It's not showing up here. This is show 157. Yeah. Where, I say, hey, be here, bang the gong now. Yeah, I say be here, bang the gong now. I'm in my gong closet. Emil Guillermo.media is the Facebook page. Oh, another thing I do is I do the PETA podcast. The PETA podcast dropped today. Check it out wherever you get your podcasts. And check out the podcast version. Emil Amok's Takeout is different. I mean, this is Emil Amok's Takeout Live, which is different. Maybe one day it won't. Maybe one day it'll be the same. But for now, it's different. But as I said, check out the replay on amok.com. And check out my columns on ALDEF, AALDEF.org/blog, the Asian American Legal Defense and Education Fund blog. As you know, you get to this part of the show. This is the true lanyap, where we kind of meditate, try to get real. I know sometimes you feel, I was feeling kind of bad today. I was checking out the paper. First of all, still upset with about, John Gruden. I mean, the guy's racist, and I don't support racists, but it's kind of funny how the NFL is kind of somewhat selective here. They're going after Gruden, but why aren't they going after the racists who banned Colin Kaepernick from getting a fair shot at playing in the NFL? So, I mean, that's my thing. I don't think John Gruden has a leg to stand on in terms of cancel culture. I think we're just coming up to a time where you cannot hide your true thoughts. You cannot be one thing publicly, the revered football coach loved by all your black players, and then on the other hand, be racist and misogynist and homophobic and all that. Not a good look. And the NFL has spoken. I just wish the NFL would be a little less hypocritical and go after the racist owners who didn't lift a finger for Colin Kaepernick. All right. Now, I was feeling really good until I saw this in the paper today. New York Times. See this guy? It's Park Jimin. Park Jimin. I guess it's like Benjamin, but he's a Park Jimin. It's Happy Jimin Day. The stage is my world that heals me, he says. This is an ad, a full page, full color ad in the New York Times, bought by Chinese fans and Jimin Bar China. Jimin Bar China. Anyway, I didn't know who Park Jimin was. I had to go to Apple Music. He's kind of got this androgynous Asian thing. Hey, look. See, can you tell? I'm like Park Jimin like 20 years from now. No, it turns out this guy is like a BTS kind of guy. And look, he's kind of cool. And I saw this and I had a touch of Schadenfreude. I said, God, if only I could have found a boy band in the 80s instead of like saying, oh, I'm going to go into television news. I should have found a boy band, and then maybe I would have had a full page ad in the New York Times. So I got a little touch of Schadenfreude, and then I went mindful. I took a deep breath. I stopped those thoughts, those bad thoughts, those thoughts of shame, those thoughts where I was feeling guilty for not doing something. I said, no. The mistakes you make, you can correct. What's wrong is when you believe you're the mistake. No, I'm not the mistake. No. If I were like 40 years younger, I could have that full page ad in the New York Times too. Like Park Jimin. I could be Park Jimin. No. The spirits have other things for you, Emil. So I meditated on that. I felt better. I felt cured. Our lesson for today. Hey, till next time. May you be safe. May you be happy. May you be healthy. And may you live with ease. Emil Guillermo here. Till next time. Mahal Kita.